Insanity of what these people have woken up to earlier today. The backyard filled with the roof. The roof has gone into the newly restored pool here at the Devlin House. Today we get confirmation. What happened here? Preston Hollow, North Dallas, this was an EF3 tornado, no question. That's confirmed. Winds topping 140 miles an hour. It was an EF1 that hit in Rowlett. Crews have determined that, and also an EF0 tore through Wills Point out in Van Zandt County. Nearly 24 hours later, pretty usual busy roads remain closed today. Thousands of people without power. Governor Greg Abbott today issued a disaster declaration for 16 counties. That includes Collin, Dallas, Ellis, as well as Rockwall. That basically, what that does is it frees up money and resources to speed the recovery in the affected counties. I want to send it over to Ken Molestina, who's joining me here as well in Preston Hollow. Ken, the damage tour is extensive. There is so much to see and so much to just kind of comprehend.
And it's really everywhere you look, Doug. You look in front of you, you look off to the sides, and you see the damage everywhere. You have all these visual cues that show you just how strong this tornado was. There's one thing I want to show you, though, for folks who are still wondering maybe how strong this tornado was. This is something I've been looking at all afternoon since we've been out here. This is a street sign. You can see at the bottom near the base there, it has been completely bent over due to the strength of the storm. Now, these signs typically would either topple over or just stay put, but here the winds were so strong that at the bottom of it, just about maybe 6 or 7 inches up, it just toppled over and it bent over there. So it gives you an idea of just how strong the winds were across the street. More of the same here, Doug. This is an area, Preston Hollow, known for its shade trees. There really aren't any left right now. Everything has been snapped. They look like toothpicks that have just been snapped off there. We can tell you that in Northeast Dallas, homeowners are still digging out from underneath the massive amounts of debris out there. There are roofs that have collapsed. And our J.D. Miles has been working that part of the story. He is live force now over in Lake Highlands with how folks are doing in that part of town. J.D.?
Can just look at pile after pile after pile after pile of huge, large tree limbs and stumps that made Floyd Lake Drive here impassable until just a few hours ago. Residents, homeowners in this area came out of this storm unscathed, and when they looked around today, they wondered how and why.
We got under the pretty strong pine table there, so we got under that and just kind of held each other and held on for dear life. And
Joe Eccles showed us where he hid with his son minutes after getting word of a tornado warning. His home is behind the Home Depot, hit by the tornado, and fortunately his 67-year-old house, which was its next target, had a basement.
And as it got more and more violent, I was really concerned that this was going to start collapsing.
The room he was in upstairs did collapse, and his home was destroyed. Nancy Schmitz was lucky her nearby home escaped major damage, but she's still dealing with a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if insurance is going to cover it, so I have to, obviously I have to take care of it myself.
It's the second severe storm to rock this neighborhood this year, and Schmitz is still traumatized by what she experienced.
Because it was so loud, and I'm reliving it right now. It was horrible. Yeah, it's going through it, twice in 4 months.
A very powerful, very emotional experience for a lot of these people, especially these families here who rode out this storm and are now spending the entire day working to clean up around me. Coming up at 5, we will visit a Buddhist temple over here where the monks were actually out working with chainsaws, cleaning up debris. They lost some very precious religious statues to the storm, and they're asking for the public's help replacing them. We'll have more on that coming up at 6. Live in Dallas, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.
JD, we'll see you at 6 o'clock for that. And as you mentioned, the efforts to get Dallas cleaned up, that continues everywhere. Here in the Preston Hollow area, we can see crews trying to clean up the debris on the ground, and Encore crews trying to establish these power lines and get the power set up. But of course, that's going to take still a couple more days from what we're being told. Let's set things over back up to Doug Dunbar, who's also here in the Preston Hollow area. Doug, we know that crews with the National Weather Service, they've been out here as well doing their own assessing.
Yeah, they are, Candy, and they're looking at things like the Devlin's backyard, their home, where the roof last night, all within about 60 seconds, they tell us, lifted up, flipped over, and came right down into this renovated pool. They got done renovating the pool about a month ago. These are the kind of things that this team going all around the devastated areas of North Texas today are looking for. It helps them measure what happened and assign a rating to the tornadic event that happened there. So they're going to be sorting through rubble like this and all around, determining whether the tornadoes touched down, how strong they were. We're still waiting to learn if a tornado, in fact, hit in Garland as well. Caroline Vandergriff is live for us with a look at the damage, at least there so far, in the absence of a definitive tornado right now. Caroline?
Well, this backyard is pretty typical of what we've seen in this neighborhood. We've got pieces of fence just littered around this yard over here. And you can see these large pieces of sheet metal. Those are actually from a business over a block away, and they ended up in this backyard here. We see a lot of downed trees, of course, and they have hit these homes and caused damage on the roof and sometimes smashing some windows as well. And if you look over here at this large piece of wood leaning up against that shed, well, that was the bottom of the shed that was in this yard. So a lot of debris in this area, and based on all this damage, neighbors are pretty convinced a tornado tore through this part of town. Cleanup is well underway here, though. We've heard the sound of chainsaws all day. You can hear them right now as people work to clear the tree limbs and debris in their yards. Now, this is an established neighborhood with mature trees, and many of them were knocked down by this possible tornado. Some hit parts of houses, causing more damage. The couple who live in this home say they finally understand why people say tornadoes sound like trains. They've moved here 10 years ago from Louisiana and say they've never experienced anything like the storm that came through last night.
The sound got so big and it got so loud, and we just moved into the hallway, and it just, it's hard to describe that feeling, the pressure and the sound.
We're blessed. That's all I can say, you know, because it could be worse. We've been through Hurricane Katrina, Betsy, Camille, and now this tornado.
The power is out in this neighborhood. Some people have made arrangements to stay elsewhere. Others are staying put. They don't expect the power to come on for several days now. Let's toss it over to our chief meteorologist, Scott Paget, for a closer look at the path of these tornadoes and the cooler weather they brought with them.
Caroline, I've been analyzing some of the imagery as well, looking at some of the radar data, and I think that this is an estimate of the North Dallas tornado path. If we take that full real quick, you're able to see, this is my thought process there. You can see that yellow arrow that made its way off towards the northeast as we were seeing this pushing its way through parts of the North Dallas area. Now I'm going to switch on over the radar, and this is backing it up to the velocity that we saw last night. So I'm going to analyze this with you as you're looking at what's going on. Those reds and the greens come together, and there's Walnut Hill Lane. You're able to see right there. Here's Walnut Hill Lane. There is Denton Drive, right south of Walnut Hill Lane. This was making its way northeast, continue to push its way north and east. And you'll be able to see that track, as it continued to intensify, worked its way northeastward, and we are continuing to look at this as well as the National Weather Service. So that's where we're watching as that tornado made its way through parts of the North Dallas area, closer towards the Garland area, Saxe as well, Rowlett, and even closer towards Rockwall. So we'll continue to look at this data and look at exactly the exact paths and how many tornadoes touched down. But don't forget, always, anytime there is severe weather, we will send alerts straight to your phone with the free CBS DFW weather app. Don't forget to like our Facebook page on CBS, on Facebook as well, the CBS DFW Facebook page, in an effort to keep you and your family safe. We were live there first last night to warn you of what was developing on the radar. So that's one method we did. We also cut in on the air to make sure that you and your family remain safe. Doug, you're live today in some of the hardest hit areas from these tornadoes.
Yeah, and Scotty, I have to be honest, and kudos to you and the CBS 11 Storm team, because without your warnings, people wouldn't have known anything, clearly, and seconds matter. Again, all of this, about 60 seconds, according to the Devlins last night. And in just a few minutes, we're going to talk to our CBS 11's Jack Fink, because he's discussing the action that Dallas leaders are now assembling and putting together as an action plan to get this long road to recovery underway. Also still to come here at 5 o'clock, a Texas-sized show of support for storm victims. And as we take a quick break, another look from high above, Chopper 11 over some of the most damaged areas, where today it's the story of the haves and the have-nots. If you're outside the damage zone, life is normal. If you're inside, it has been forever changed.
I called Baker Brothers and they tackled every problem my house threw at them. They tackled my
Probably